There are more than 3.5 billion people living in countries with abundant reserves of natural resources. Very often the economies of these countries rely on companies extracting the fossil fuel. The revenues coming from the extractive industries constitute the lion's share of the state budget and are important for the development of social sphere. However, there are risks associated with the lack of awareness and revenues coming from extractive industries, because little knowledge about these social investments may lead to social unrest, corruption, and conflicts between the society, business, and the government. The Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, or EITI, is a good solution to the problem.
The main benefits of the EITI is that it reduces the social mistrust to the government, because the society knows that the process of budget allocation is transparent and does involve preliminary discussions with civil society and approval from the parliament.
Бюджет, который должен каждый гражданин знать, на что он тратится.
Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair introduced EITI in 2002. His initiative was launched during the Summit for Sustainable Development in South Africa, Johannesburg. EITI is the mixture of measures and mechanisms that ensure the transparency of income generated by oil and gas and mining industries. At present, 35 countries are implementing EITI. 14 of them have successfully gone through validation process and 21 have a candidate status.
International EITI Secretariat and the board have mentioned that Kazakhstan stepped forward in EITI implementation. We were the first, or at last we were told so, who introduced the automated data processing. Starting from this year, we have the single public administration e-system which records the reporting from subsurface users. This means that we will synchronize the data on one database. That is, revenues and the payments to the budget to be reconciled automatically. We are proud of this innovation, and we were prized by Claire Schott, the chair of EITI International Board, who recently visited Kazakhstan.
The Republic of Kazakhstan has committed itself to implement the EITI standards in 2005 on the initiative of the President Nursultan Nazarbayev. On the 5th of October the same year, the government of Kazakhstan, the parliament, extracting companies and the coalition of non-government organizations signed the Memorandum of Understanding. In Oslo on 27th of September 2007, Kazakhstan was granted the EITI candidate status. Further, according to the requirements of international EITI standards, the country established the National Stakeholders Council, which involved all interested parties. Today the council still exists and all decisions are taken by thorough discussions and by consensus of its all members. World Bank, Soros Foundation and OSCE have observation status and NSC board.
There was a memorandum of understanding on ATI signed between the government of Kazakhstan and the World Bank in 2006, and since then we support ATI through the Joint Economic Research Program. This program not only contains ATI, but ATI is an important part. So every year we discuss the directions of our support, and we provide support, mainly again supporting information dissemination, report printing and dissemination, conferences on national and regional level, and analytical researches, such as, for example, scope and study research, such as governance, ATI governance and work plan researches. So any kind of analytical support for good ATI development in Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan is growing both from the businesses and from the civil society. It is beneficial to all parties. For state authorities, EITI is an opportunity to improve the investment climate in the country and attract the foreign investors, because implementation of EITI demonstrates the signs of good governance, accountability and reduction of corruption. Population benefits from the access to information about revenues from oil and gas and mining companies, about budget allocation schemes, and an opportunity to raise voice when needed. Finally, investors are better off from improved investment climate, which allows them to minimize political and commercial risks when doing business in Kazakhstan. EITI also allows companies to demonstrate their corporate social responsibility.
As you know, the initiative implies equal participation from each side, the state, companies and civil society. Therefore, we had many discussions who will be representing each side to reflect everyone's interests. So the government side was led by appropriate ministries. From the business, Chevron, Statoil and ExxonMobil were leading for some time. But then we decided that Kazenergy could play better and more effective role to represent the whole oil and gas industry.
In practice, there are little problems associated with the ITI. Still, there are some difficulties with implementation of the initiative at regional level. Majority of extractive oil and gas and mining companies are based in the regions of Kazakhstan. That is why there is a need in effective cooperation between business, power and civil society.
There is no efficient structure of EITI implementation in the regions that can be responsible for EITI locally. That is why we cannot gather sufficient information on the revenues and their allocation. Therefore, we need the system which will allow the regions to provide feedback on budget allocations. The current public councils are inefficient and they need to be improved. This issue, I think, is a problem.
Another problem of EITI implementation in the country is the lack of awareness among general population. The experts believe that Kazakhstan will only benefit from promotion of EITI and from active information campaign.
That last year the new EITI standards were adopted, and they have certain new requirements. Some of them are obligatory, some of them are yet voluntary. And of course, obligatory requirements will be reflected in coming reports, but there are several voluntary requirements, such as contract transparency, such as beneficial ownership, which we will be aiming in future and which gives us certain perspectives in ATI development. Last year, and I'm happy to congratulate Kazakhstan again, we were awarded by compliant country status, and this shows the recognition of the efforts we have taken towards transparency of extractive sector. But as I said, there are definitely new directions and for ATI further developments in Kazakhstan.
There are many perspectives of EITI development in Kazakhstan. First of all, the initiative, through not the only one, is the most effective platform for the dialogue between government officials, parliament members, extractive companies and the civil society. The National Council, which consists of equal numbers of representatives from each side, is the unique place to discuss problems all together and where each side has to respect the opinion and the decision of all members. That is why the civil society can easily express its needs, interests and the vision on different issues.
Kazakhstan has been demonstrating strong political will and sustainable agenda to build effective cooperation between authorities, business and civil society. International organizations, partners and donors have also encouraged and supported Kazakhstan's efforts to receive EITI compliance.
The British Embassy in Kazakhstan has been supporting EITI projects since 2008. For example, in 2011, we funded a regional initiative on transparency and accountability standards in oil and gas countries such as Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan. In 2013, this embassy also allocated another grant to support implementation of standards that go beyond EITI, such as the disclosure of social investments made by oil and gas and mining companies, and the raising of the capacity of civil society in the regions, and also to build a platform of dialogue between local official authorities, business and NGOs. Moreover, the British Embassy has been involved in the dialogue between the Kazakh government on the one hand and the diplomatic community on the other about the EITI validation process. We warmly welcome Kazakhstan's strong commitment to the EITI process, and we support this initiative, and we will continue to give our support going forward.
During 9 years of EITI implementation in Kazakhstan, the country has managed to publish 7 national reports on tax payments from oil, gas and mining sectors to the budget. All reports are open and available to any internet user. The reports contain detailed information on social expenditures of extractive companies and the codes of budget classification on revenue sources. This transparency initiative has already received positive feedback from both Kazakh and international community. However, the implementers of EITI are keen to continue their efforts to introduce new EITI standards and to become the leader in this area. The government of Kazakhstan has a clear vision of building the stable society and to continue effective exploration of natural resources to lead the country to prosperity.